Hey, what's going on, y'all? Good morning. It's your boy Three Stacks in this thing. I'm real hyped and enthused to actually go over the Infernoids again. It's been a long time since these have been seen on my channel. It's long overdue, as well as the cubics. The cubic decks that I did, like all the variations, including the totally awesome one and the hero one, they all blew up pretty rapidly. And I was like, man, like why have I not done an update on cubics? Cubics are one of my favorite decks. So once we finish this Inferno deck profile, we're gonna do the cubics. I'm trying to upload a lot of content like I normally do. I'm just trying to make sure you guys stay satisfied with everything that's here on this channel. Make sure that we feed all of your fantasies and desires. There is one deck that I need to showcase very soon, which is Metaphys Twilight Sworn. It's a deck request that's been pending for a week and a half now, and I really need to just do that because I want to keep my word to my subscribers. But we're gonna hop right into this deck list without further ado. It's real spicy and teched out. It's kind of similar to some Infernoid lists you see, but there's like other card choices and routes that I chose to take. We're playing three of the best card, honestly, in the entire deck. I don't understand why Konami printed a card like this. This is one of these cards that just really do deserve to be banned. Decatron is just retarded in this deck. Oh my gosh, like when you resolve your Void Feast, it's not like you're winning that turn. You're just like your opponent can't do anything that turn. You're winning the next turn when you summon out your Nunchu and Deviati. Oh, it's just like so retarded. It's amazing how just because of Decatron, Infernoids don't really need to play Lightsworns and all that milling crap. That's why I chose not to play the 60 card build, even though it's cool, it's fun. It's like a gamble, and I don't like leaving Yu-Gi-Oh to chance. I want it to be kind of just like skill, as close to skill as possible. We all know it's a chance you draw a certain 5 cards in your opening hand, but still, I didn't want to play any more chances than that, so I chose to do a pure Infernoid. I have Lightsworn stuff. I could do the Lightsworn, but I wanted to do like an all-fire build. It's really cool. So 3 Decatron, the best monster in the deck, lets you play through any established board, just him by himself, really. And then we play 2 Daddy Raigeki, and we also play 2 Mama Heavy Storm. I'm going to organize them like this. We're actually going to put the Nunchu and the Deviata just like that. So these are like the reason why Decatron really is so broken. Outside of that, Decatron is the most manipulative level, he's like a level eater, but like the opposite. He's like a level manipulator, I'll say it like that. He lets you climb for a higher synchro place, and he lets you push for rank 7s, rank 8s, rank 9s. If you feel the need be so. He's just really strong, so freaking savage. But yeah, Nocturne and Deviati have definitely made a name for themselves over time. Just having a main deck Raigeki that never dies, and a Heavy Storm that continues to come back, and on field, after they clear your field, they just negate and banish, which they just summoning these cards can win you games because your opponent loses so much resources to them, and then they continue to drain your resources by negating another card, which that's another card right out of your hand. And these in tandem with Decatron is just like triple negate, which is so stupid. And continue down the line to the level 2 Infernoids, which are the in-betweens. We play 2 copies of Saitamis. Saitamis is really strong for breaking boards. I just don't like playing 3 of like any of the big Infernoids because I kind of have like not so good luck with drawing the smaller Infernoids. I tend to draw like bigger Infernoids more often. So I had to modulate my deck list. Instead of milling cards from my deck, I really wanted to play cards that fix my hand. Where if I have a hand like with a bunch of big noids and nothing in grave, you never want to take minuses or negs by banishing noids from grave to summon. Banishing noids from hand to summon noids from hand, because you're losing too many cards on that one play. So I wanted to find ways to fix my hand and still be able to summon them. So you're gonna see once we get into the spells how teched out the list is. Then we play 1 copy of Batandel. In addition to that, we play 1 copy of Jet. Jet is kind of like a pseudo Garnet, but he's still good because you can summon him. And his on-field effect lets you banish cards from that extra deck, or we already know every Inferno is a DD Crow in one shape or form. The baby ones are during your opponent's turn, and the mid-level ones, the level 2s, like Jet, Atandel, and Satamis, they're during either player's turn. Anunchu and Deviati are just on a different level completely. But yeah, definitely 2 Satamis, 1 Atandel, and 1 Jet. And those are kind of like your big daddies, your bosses, basically. They allow you to push for your game. Go for your game pushes to clear boards. They put the damage you need on board a lot of the times, and they just keep coming back from the graveyard, so you really don't need to play too many copies of them, and they also just guarantee field presence no matter what, so it's really nice. And then for the smaller Noids, we're actually going to go for the 3 Patrulia. I like 3 Patrulia a lot. He helps me to not only break boards, but he also helps me facilitating my rank 4 plays. So having that extra level 4 on the field really does make a difference, in addition to popping back row. So he can be your synchro for a level 8 for your Omega. He can be your rank 4. He can be your 4 for when you use Decatron to dump Antra, and then bam, synchro for 7, black rolls the crap out of your opponent. So Patrulia is pretty staple to me. The next staple for me is actually, oh my goodness. Okay, this card has like such high ceiling in my opinion. Hard Dick. There's so many monsters that are like so problematic, and the fact that you can just out them with this tiny guy just doesn't make sense. Like extremely powerful monsters, and they can be targeted and destroyed, right? Or let's say, for example, you Patrulia, the Last Resort. Like, if you can bait out Sleeper, which is pretty easy to do in this deck, you can, like, bait out Sleeper just with Decatron alone. And if Decatron, Sleeper doesn't resolve and Decatron dumps the Deviati, Sleeper can't even resolve now because he's going to get negated and banished. So, Infernoids have high ceiling in the Spiral matchup. So, if you don't bait out the Sleeper then and you have Decatron on field, you just summon Patrulia. Patrulia's effect, target Last Resort, or the Spiral Resort, pop it, and then bring out Hard Dick, and then you can... I love calling it Hard Dick, it's so funny. But then you could target Sleeper, and at that point, you know, they're going to have to try to chain it, or they just lose them completely. So either way, these are like Sleeper outs, these are Firewall outs. These are outs to like Tri-Gate Wizard, because you can actually like bait out the Tri-Gate Wizard. Like I said with Decatron, that's why Decatron is so dope. And if you don't, you just bait out Tri-Gate Wizard with Hard Dick. Just try to pop him, and if he negates it, cool. You can make your Feast plays, your Vanishment. You can resolve your Imagination now. There's so many different ways you can push through established boards. And honestly, in my opinion, Hard Dick and Patrulia are some of the main reasons why. In addition to that, Decatron can actually gain their effects as well. There are once per turn effects, which are not hard once per turns. So if you happen to open with Decatron in any one of these, you can normal Decatron, dump them, gain their effect and their name, and then you can special summon them, use their effect, pop, and then use Decatron, who is Patrulia, for example, pop 2 back rows, or same thing, normal Decatron, dump Harmadic, special summon Harmadic by banishing the same Harmadic you dumped, and then pop 1 monster, and then Decatron pop the other monster. At that point, you have a 4 and a 3. You can synchro for 7. It's just really, really dope. Like the shenanigans this deck pulls off, it's insane. It's one of the best going second decks. If you go first, you're kind of gonna win because you resolve Feast. You're gonna have an Fire King Arvada. You're gonna have 3 negates on board just off of a normal summon and a simple trap. And if you're going second, you're just gonna ulti K and push through like boards that seem to be unbreakable. And I also like to take in 1 Antra. Just at the offset chance, you know, I want to go for either the bounce the Dante, bounce the BLs, or if I'm just going against a monster that can't be destroyed, period. Infernoids tend to have a hard time dealing with that because Anunchu destroys all monsters. Patrulia, I'm sorry, not Patrulia, Hard Dick, he targets and destroys. So like if a monster can't be destroyed, then Antra is like really the only way I can push through it, aside from going into my extra deck and just trying to swing over it with like lightning and stuff like that. So I just like having at least 1 copy of Antra. He increases the ceiling of any matchup that you have with your Infernoids, because there are those monsters that you just can't be destroyed. So Antra really helps out a lot. I feel like every Infernoid list should at least play 1 of them. If you play none, it's kind of like understandable, but then at the same time, you'll come into that situation where you're like, dang, if I played Antra, I could get over this monster right now, but I guess I can't. And then, of course, I'm playing a bigger Fire King engine than most Noids would play. If you're playing pure Noids, honestly, Arvada is one of the best ways to go, because he secures your Feast so that your opponent can't Ash or Ogre you. And if they don't open with hand traps, you basically just have 3 negates. Arvada for monsters, the Decatron Anunchu for monsters. The Decatron Anunchu for spells, and the Decatron Deviati for monsters. So you just literally have triple negate, which that accounts for 3 of your opponent's 6 cards, leaving them with 3 cards to continue playing. And even though they push through your field, you're going to summon Deviati and Anunchu next turn and kill them. And then continuing with the Fire King engine, I also play 1 copy of Yaksha and also 1 chicken. I'm actually looking for high Fire King avatar Garunix, the big Garunix. I would like to play 2 copies of him, at least 2 and not 1, because I like the rotation of the standby, summon 1, and summon the other one. One destroys one, and it's just a never-ending loop where they just keep summoning and clearing the field. I mean, it's really nice, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Garunix is a level 7, which happens to be pretty awesome because you can still summon at least one Infernoid from your graveyard using their effect, because the combined levels still are not 8 yet, which is really dope. And if you have the double Garunix, if I'm not mistaken, they kind of just pop each other. Like, one gets summoned, the other gets summoned, they both activate, bam, bam. If I'm not mistaken, that's how the Garunix works. But basically, I do want to play Garunix in this deck. I wanted to play more Fire Kings than the average build, like I said. So I wanted to not only be spicy, but I really wanted it to be extremely aggro. When you go first, you already have the control aspect that you get from Feast and Banishment. And of course, you have Arvada and like the infinite ways to search him. But I really wanted more ways to kind of deal with established boards in addition to the Decatron, Anunchu, and the Deviati. So definitely stay tuned for that update, because I'm going to tech this deck out and make it extremely, extremely innovative, and just make it the most crazy and interesting Infernoid list out there. Just as far as the Fire King aspect goes, I just like taking advantage of the fire build. So yeah, for right now, I'm playing the Garunix and the Yaksha as additional extenders. This can load your grave even further with Noids. In addition to that, it also has the combo with Arvada. And Garunix has an even better combo with Arvada, because if you have this in hand, I play more ways to search aside from Tinky. If you have this in hand and you resolve Arvada to negate, you'll pop this. This can special summon another Arvada, or it can special summon a Yaksha. Then you have a free rank 4 on board, which is really, really dope. It's either a free rank 4 or it's just more damage. Or you can just leave Arvada and the Yaksha and then use Arvada again to pop the Yaksha. Yaksha will then get rid of that brick hand that you had with that Deviati, Anunchu, Saitamis, or that Jet in your hand that you really couldn't use in hand, and you didn't have the Noids engraved to summon it in the first place. So you're just maximizing your value off of it by using it as the Gatefather to extend your plays, which is really, really dope. I want to play more of the Chicken because the Fire King effect to special summon from hand is kind of relevant. Like, if you can special summon Garunix from hand off of the Fire King Island, normal summon Decatron, dump Antra, you have a free either level 6 synchro, or you have a Break Sword or a Dante, which is really dope. So you can modify your extra deck like accordingly to how you play your Noids, because there's so many different extra deck options that the playstyle that this deck provides. So that pretty much sums up the monsters. There is another cool combo with your damage push in battle phase, where you can actually summon your Yaksha, from your hand. And then the same thing with Garunix, because he says if a face-up Fire King monster you control is destroyed, you can special this guy from hand. They both special summon each other from hand. So when you're going for your battle phase pushes, these really do help a lot. Like, for example, if you have Arvada on field and you have like one or both of these in hand, then you can basically like use your Arvada to pop him, and then his effect can bring out, for example, either Arvada or Yaksha, and then you'll get the hand trap effect. Not hand trap effect, but the effect to just special summon from hand, which puts more damage on board and, more bodies. And now we're going to move forward to the spells, which is kind of like just all starter plays. So if you don't open up with like Decatron or Arvada, you kind of just need the spells to get you there. And if not, you just really have to open up with like a beautiful hand where your Noids just really helped you out this time. I'm playing 3 copies of Desires. Me personally, I like 3 in this list because I really need to open up correctly. And if I don't open up correctly, Desires 80% of the time tends to fix that and either digs for the Feast, the Banishment, or it'll dig for Decatron, or even just the Tinky. If I can open up with Arvada, Tinky, Imagination, Feast, or at least Decatron, I'm good. So out of those 5 cards that I play, 3 of those are 15 powerful play starters. And if I don't open up with one of those 15, Desires has a high chance of still getting me there. So that's why I like 3, because I really want to see it in opening hand. The +1 really does matter. You play multiples of like literally everything. The only time it would hurt is if you actually happen to banish both the Nunchus and both Deviatis, which has not happened to me, fortunately. The dead Desires that you do not want to resolve, they tend to be food for your Void Banishment, which is really nice. And you can also use High Fire King Island to pop any card in your hand to exchange it for a Fire King. So dead Desires aren't really dead. They're actually food and fodder for other plays. So I just really like it. Desires does increase the ceiling of any deck as well. So the 3 Banishment is to search out the 6 targets. I'm sorry, the 5 targets that I play. I play 5 Void cards. I wanted to play more, but it kind of just came down to space issues. But the targets are as following. I play 3 copies of Void Imagination. I play 1 copy of Void Seer. I guess I'll show the rest when I get to the traps. So we're just gonna stick to the spells. I don't want to kind of like get disorganized. But I played 3 Void Imagination because it's so powerful when you open with it going second. You don't literally win. I don't like to over exaggerate on things, but it gets you so far ahead to the point where you've almost nearly broken an entire board, and you have 6 Noids engraved now. You have Tierra on field, and if you have a second copy of Imagination, that's where it comes in handy, because you can activate that second copy to turn her level to 1, and then you can special summon as many Noids as possible from grave, getting their effects. For example, you can summon the Deviati to Heavy Storm. If Natisse took out the monsters, you can Heavy Storm, and then you can summon another like Satamis or a Tondale, and you could just push for a lot of damage. All the damage is halved, so that's kind of the restriction and drawback. But this does, Imagination does allow you to actually load your board up to push for game. And if you don't push for game, you basically sit on a Nocturne Deviati for negates, which is really dope. So this is like one of the craziest pushes of this deck is Imagination. It's also one of the main reasons why you don't really need to focus on the milling aspect of the Noids. Like, you know, you can do the Lightsworn build, but that's one of the reasons why I don't really like focusing on the mill aspect. I like actually seeing my cards. I don't like milling all of my Imaginations or my Voids or milling any of my 1-ofs. In addition to that, I get to mill off of Imagination. When I resolve Feast, I normally have enough fodder and grave to push for game. In addition to that, you still can play, you know, your 1-of Reasoning and Monster Gate. So that's why I just really don't need to play the milling base deck with the Lightsworns. Even though it's cool and it's really fun, I just wanted to get really creative with this and also have the highest ceiling build. And I feel that the Fire King build is the highest ceiling. In the Seer, just the 1-of Seer, it's really nice. If you don't know what it does, it basically targets a Noid and it's unaffected by your opponent's card effects. Then you can banish it from grave to prevent any of your Noids, 1 of them, from being destroyed by card effects, which is really dope. And it works if multiple Noids are marked for destruction. You can save at least 1 of them, because it does have a plural / parentheses with an esh, which means, you know, board wipes basically. So you just play the 1 Void Seer. And I guess I'll just slap that right next to Imagination, because next up for the spells, we play 3 copies of Tinky. You have 4 copies of your you don't play 4 copies. I said 4. You have 4 targets for your Tinky, which is 3 Arvada and 1 Yaksha. Chicken is a bird. She's a winged beast, so she don't count, but she still is an additional target for the High Fire King Island. I don't know why I always say high. I know it's called Fire King Island. It's just really dope to name it that. But yeah, I like Fire King Island a lot because, like I said, I really need to fix my hands. So if Arvada cannot do so, I really rely on cards like this to basically serve as dual utility, because I not only get a Noid where it belongs, which every Noid technically does belong in grave, but I also get to exchange it for either an Arvada or my chicken combo, or even the Yaksha for an extender, so you can go for rank 4s and stuff like that, which is really cool. So the aspect of this deck has changed drastically in comparison to, you know, different variations of Infernoids over the past. And just overall, as time has progressed, you know, the deck has changed. There's so many different builds, but I want to do like a full-fledged like Fire King Infernoid build. So I want to get the High Avatar Karunix. I wish I had it so I can showcase you the deck the way I want it to be built, but this is kind of as close as I can get it to. But the Fire King Island is here. It has so many different purposes for this deck. It's one of the best spells. If I do get the High Fire King Garunix, the big avatar, I might actually bump this to 3 and possibly play like 1 to 2 terraformings, just so I can consistently pop it. I might even tech in onslaughts and circles of the Fire King, stuff like that. Who knows? The deck might change drastically. For the 1-ofs, I play 1 Reasoning, 1 Monster Gate. Like I said, this is the only milling you really need. And these are better mills than like Raiden or Minerva, because this can keep going. They extend so far. You relatively play 3, 5. You play 8 monsters that can actually be normal summoned, but every other one of your monsters cannot be normal summoned. So if it sacks any of those, you're just putting food in grave for any of your Noids that you want to summon from grave, which is really dope. So typically, like back in the day when Reasoning was at 3 and Decatron was not out yet, because he's kind of like not new, but he wasn't released with the rest of the Noids, resolving Reasoning and Infernoids was almost like an auto win. And it's still kind of similar to this day. That's why I play the Monster Gate to act as a second Reasoning. That's the only milling that I really need. Like I said, I have that Imagination, I have Beast. I'm not trying to mill my spells and traps. I'd rather just mill the actual monsters. These are kind of the only gambles I play. Then the 1-for-1 as your 4th Decatron, because it's just way too broken. He's way too strong. And then as I was saying with the targets for Void Imagination, I play more Voids. So I do play the Triple Feast. This is kind of like standard if you're playing pure Infernoids. The milling decks kind of play like 2 or maybe 1. Some do play 3. I maximize on this. I like opening up with it because then if I either don't have Vanishment or I do, I can use it to search for Seer, for Imagination, and also my spicy tech is Eye of the Void. It basically lets you special summon an Infernoid from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions, and its effects are negated. It's only fair that its effects are negated because if you could summon Deviati or Nunchu from your hand and blow your opponent's field up on their turn, that wouldn't be very fair. But it does help because it unclogs my hand as well. Like I was saying, I wanted to play this deck in a way that it would fix my hands. And putting an Infernoid like Deviati or a Nunchu or even just a Thomas or any of the mid-level ones like Jetty or a Tondel, it not only puts bodies on field in battle phase for pushes, it just kind of cock blocks your opponent and then they go right to the grave where they're supposed to be. So Eye of the Void is a really, really nice tech. And it's an additional target. I like it a lot. I've resolved it in battle phase for game. I've resolved it to unclog my hand, which is really cool. So I like this. Like, I like the way the Fire King Island works. I like the way this works. You know, I like Arvada. It just fixes the problem that Noids have always had in the past, which was bricking. Moving forward to the extra deck, we played 2 copies of Tiara and Tiara. I'm sorry, not Tiara, and then 3 Natis. When you resolve this, it's just so powerful. We play Calamities. If people are asking how you summon Calamities, you summon, basically, you can either be under Void Imagination or you can literally just summon Deviati. She's a level 9. I'm sorry, not under Void Imagination. You summon her, she's a level 9. Then you just normal summon your Decatron, use his effect to dump a Tondel. A Tondel's a level 8. Wherever he's at. I don't feel like, oh, there he is. And he'll gain his level. So 1 plus 8 equals 9. And if you overlay 2 level 9s, you can make your Calamities just like that. Because I can make him, that's the reason why I'm playing him. Calamities is one of my favorite cards. Then you've got just generic rank force, Utopia package, Baguska, and Tornado. Kind of the best ones of the game right now. And me personally, I only have 1 Omega. I would play definitely more, but I kind of like share this with all of my decks at the moment. And then I play Black Rose as well because I love Black Rose so much. I would definitely play more Omegas if I had it. And for the links, which helps because they have no levels, so you get more damage on board, is Board Load, Decode, and Binary. In one of your similar combos, you basically just make this, and this in the same exact turn. Just on 1 Link Synchro Climb, which is really, I said Link Synchro Climb, under 1 Link Climb. It's just really, really cool. Especially because Noids extend by summoning from grave. It's kind of like helpful to help you to just go into your Board Load. And he's the best Link 4 that I could think of. Topo doesn't really help, and Firewall, you never really get to co-link, so I was like, Board Load is the best choice. To end on a Link 4, which is just a big 3k that can be targeted, stealing monsters, and then you already have like your big Noids, which helps a lot. That pretty much sums up the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it, found it to be entertaining. If you have any questions, comments, or even suggestions, constructive criticism, either way, if you liked it or didn't like it, I would love to hear your opinion in the comment section below. And also stay tuned for Cubics, which is another one of my favorite decks. I haven't updated in a while, and it really does deserve the credit that is due. So we're going to get into that after this video. God bless y'all. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. I'm going to go ahead and sign out. I love y'all. And you're actually going to hear from me in like 5 minutes. I'm out.